Your afternoon boost with Tony Gwynn Jr.,
We all headed to back in Park.
Chris Ello,
You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to put an end to all of the back-end parkers. I'm just going to ram somebody in the driver's side door.
and Matt Skraby.
Now I'm being judged because I pull forward into my parking spot.
Don't blame us for any side effects.
You thrilled our fans throughout the postseason with a great performance.
Gwynn and Chris are ready to go.
Welcome in on this edition of Gwynn and Chris, minus the Chris, Tony Gwynn Jr., Matt Skraby. Kicking things off here from Atlanta, Georgia. Of course, Skraby's in San Diego. Padres begin a 3-game set against the Atlanta Braves. They have struggled, obviously, six game losing streak at this point. And I've been spared from having to hear that the sky is falling because I've been on the road. But Skraby, I'm sure you can inform me on what it's been like.
Yeah, Chicken Little is running around the streets and he is screaming to everyone the sky is falling. Now, I get it. People are a little antsy right now, but we've seen this before. And this is not something that's new. It was a tough way to lose the game yesterday. I understand that, but I kind of went off on a few people yesterday who are saying this team is done and this team is given up. Like, if you think this team is given up, then there's no reason to watch the rest of the season. So that's basically where we're at here in San Diego, Tony.
Well, okay. Well, I think we have to definitely speak to the fact that is probably the small minority of people.
You're right.
I've been thinking about this a little bit. Like, we do happen to go through this. We happen to have this conversation. It feels like every year at some point, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
And I think, the more I think about it, the more I believe that the majority of people who follow this team actually don't think the sky is falling, right? I think the loudest voices sometimes are the ones we tend to pay attention to. But, I mean, listen, they aren't playing well. I don't think there's any question. You can't even argue that, right? They're not playing well. They're not playing their brand of baseball, and whether it's because of confidence or not, it really doesn't matter what it's because. All that matters right now is that they're not doing it. It'll be up to them to figure out what it is exactly that's, kind of been the thing that's prevented them from playing that way. And I believe that they will figure it out. I don't have any doubt that they'll figure it out. So, I say all that to say, ultimately, man, I know we tend to focus on the sky is falling crowd, but I don't think that's the majority of people.
I did a lot of thinking about this too, Tony, on my drive home yesterday after I re-listened to me screaming at everyone. And yeah, I do let those loud people
Not just you, we all do.
Okay.
We all do.
All right.
We all do.
We let those loud people get to us, and we will let those loud people get through to us. And sometimes I need to ignore that because this team is a good team. They got beat pretty bad on Wednesday night. Then they come back the next day. Gavin Sheets hits a 2-run home run, and then he ties it up again with another 2-run home run in the 9th, and then they go into the 11th. Now, I have a question for you about the 11th, but this team is going to be fine. Teams go through this. And I went through, and at the end of the show, I'm going to tell everybody some of the losing streaks that World Series champions have had, because this just happens. And it just seems like people, when this happens, some people just go nuts and think that this team is done, fire shill, all of that. And now it's like Toddy's sad. So, we need to get him out of the lineup.
Toddy may be sad. You know why he may be sad? Because he's not getting any hits. Baseball's not fun when you're not getting any hits. It's just that simple. I don't care what and that you might be able to keep a strong stoic face for a certain minute, but at some point it's going to get you, and then he's going to regroup, and he's not going to look as in the down in the dumps as maybe some people think he is. That's just how it is. No one likes to struggle, and in his mind, based on how he has started, I could see him being frustrated at times with it. And so, so what? He's not smiling and dancing a jig when they have lost 6 in a row. There's really no reason to be smiling, and
we would be crushing him if he was dancing at 6 in a row.
100%. And so, we'll see. Hopefully today is the day where they can say the offense finally showed some type of life yesterday.
Yeah.
They showed they got back to at least some of the type of long at-bats, grindy at-bats. We hadn't seen that in quite some time, it felt like. So
Yeah.
I thought that was encouraging. I thought they fought into the end. You know, they just couldn't get the multi-runs that generally you kind of need in order to put extra pressure on that team, on the home team in those type of games. Because if you'll score one, I don't know that the pressure is really on them at that point.
Yeah, and I was listening to you and Scan yesterday driving down to Petco Park, and Scan was saying, like, this is the first time we've kind of felt like this team can come back in the last couple games. And so hopefully that swag, like, keeps going. It's not going to get easier, though, Tony, because Ronald Acuna Jr. decided today was the day that he was going to come back and play for the Braves.
Well, listen, Ronald's got to figure it out, too. He's first game back in the big leagues. We'll see how it goes. Listen, Padres, it don't matter. Honestly, it don't even matter about swag. It don't matter about any of that. It just matters that they can get back to executing in the way they were. And that's from the at-bats into the actual game plan at the plate, you know, things of that nature. I think the pitching's been good. Outside of the bullpen having its issues the other day, starting pitching's been good. They've held leads. They did it yesterday again to get to the extra inning portion. Just wasn't able to keep them off the board.
Now, let me ask you this, because this was a question yesterday, and I was waiting to get your opinion on it. But the infield was in the bottom of the 11th, one out, man on first and third, Nathan Lucas up. Why do you think the infield was in? Because from my armchair seat over here, it looked like they forced a double play, but because the infield was in, they couldn't get to the ball, and game was over. So what are your thoughts on that?
My thoughts is that Lucas can run. So, the chances of them doubling him up wasn't great. And so they ran it in because they knew if he didn't hit the ball like hard at somebody, they weren't going to double him up, and they would have won the game anyway. So they brought the infield in, try to cut down on one of those dribblers, and he hit it in the right spot.
He did. He hit it right where they couldn't get it. And so that was it. But, I think that this team, as we've said for the last 7 minutes, is going to rebound. It's not a big deal. They do have some sort of thing in Atlanta. They do play well in Atlanta. So that's a good thing going for them, at least in my mind. I'm trying to look for everything, Tony. You don't
need to look for anything. They just the sign that you need to look for is how they competed yesterday. That's these other things, where they playing, who they facing. Yeah, I mean, it might matter, but it probably doesn't. And so it's just really about them going out, and they got to change their fortune by going out and playing the way they need to.
Yeah. Let's go. What's going on with you? How was your flight to Atlanta from Toronto? I looked this up because I wanted to know how far it was, not because I wanted to track you. And it said it was like 2.5 hours. I did not realize that Toronto and Atlanta were that close.
It was not 2.5 hours. It was 1 hour and 45 minutes from Toronto to Atlanta. And it was cool. We went through customs in Toronto, which, I haven't I haven't really figured out who decides where we do customs. Do we do it because last year we did it 2 years ago when we went to Toronto, we did customs in Detroit when we came in. And so I'd be interested to know what changes that, but it was pretty smooth. We went through like the regular airport. Like it wasn't like a bus to the tarmac to the stairs. Like sometimes it is.
Yeah.
We went through like the actual Toronto airport. Like, so I'm sure the people who were like, there were a few people that were flying regular that were probably pretty annoyed that they got stuck behind three buses of a baseball tean. But
it is what it is.
Yeah, it was pretty smooth. Pretty smooth.
That's good. Because I want to go to Toronto and go to a game one time because someone told me it was really fun. What's the atmosphere like there for a baseball game?
I don't know. They got an okay atmosphere in terms of baseball. The city is pretty sweet though. It was cold though. It was rainy. But it's a nice city. But in terms of the baseball atmosphere, I haven't been like blown up. It's not like something I would like think back like, oh man, Toronto's atmosphere was just unbelievable. Like I won't remember it unless somebody brings it up.
That's interesting because someone told me I have to go to a Toronto Blue Jays game when I get there.
Maybe that's true when it's like there weren't a lot of people at these games. You know, it wasn't like it was packed to the brim. So maybe like playoff time when they're packing that joint, it's a lot of fun and the atmosphere is right. It was just,
Interesting. Yeah. Okay. I only have you for a limited time, so I want to talk about the rule changes in the NFL real quick.
Okay, what you got?
You saw that
I saw everybody back down
on the tush push?
Yeah.
Well, they needed 24 votes to ban it, and they had 22 votes. So it was closer than people thought, but the tush push is allowed. The Lions withdrew their whole playoff seeding idea because no one was behind that. They are going to be moving the touchback. Like if you get a touchback off of a kickoff, it's going to go from the 30 to the 35 now. And each team is going to get a chance to possess the ball in overtime. So like in the regular season.
Hasn't that always been the
Yes,
case?
But in the regular season, if they score first or score a touchdown first, game over. It's like sudden death that way. But now each team has a chance to match each other. So it's not just over when the team that receives the ball.
They changed that already.
They did in the playoffs, but they didn't change it.
That's right.
Yeah.
It was just a playoff.
So they have all that stuff. I don't know. People are like freaking out over all of this stuff, and I'm kind of tired of people freaking out. Tony, isn't that weird that I'm tired of people freaking out?
You need to stop paying attention to it. That's what you need to do.
I'm almost 40, and I'm letting.
Exactly. You're almost 40. You should stop paying attention to what everybody else is doing.
Yeah, I'm almost 40, and I need to start, doing the Skraby thing instead of like looking at the chat and seeing everybody criticizing me for how I don't know baseball, all that stuff.
I probably should know this, but when's my man Chris coming back? When did we get to see him? Next week?
He is coming back. Yes, next week. He's coming back, I believe, on Wednesday because we have Monday off, and I think his first day back is Wednesday.
All right, bet. All right, let's get to break. More Gwynn and Chris on the other side.
Hey, Skinny Crisello here from my friends at SD Fat Loss. And 37 pounds, that's the big number. That's how much weight.
Fantasy Palace, 97.3 The Fan. We're going to hear from Gavin Sheets here shortly. He's going to be in this break. Tony and I caught up with him a little bit earlier. And Tony, when I asked him in the first segment about the whole thing with how was this trip from Toronto to Atlanta, he failed to mention something about this trip, and he's going to mention it to Gavin Sheets. So I definitely think people should stick around for that because it is worth it. There was something that happened to the Padres players' bus yesterday, and everybody had to make adjustments. So we'll get to Gavin Sheets in just a couple minutes here. This hour in 97.3 The Fan is brought to you by Islands Restaurants. Big on protein, rich on flavor. The new $10 Islands Restaurants protein bowls are here for a limited time, packed with over 40 grams of protein and stacked with fresh ingredients for the flavors you love, just in a bowl. Find your protein paradise at islandsrestaurants.com. I just wanted to say before we get into Gavin Sheets, yesterday at the blood drive was very, very fun. Had a lot of people come by and say hi. It was definitely for a good cause because they raised a lot, or they collected a lot of blood. And so anybody who went out there and donated their blood, thank you so much for doing that because it's very, very important. And there's another thing that I didn't even get to mention yesterday because we were down at the at Petco Park, but I'm sorry to everyone who was affected by the plane crash that was right around here 2 days ago. That is really scary and it's really sad. So if you're listening and you were affected by that, I'm very sorry to hear that. And hopefully things get better from here. But that is extremely scary. You never want to wake up hearing about that happening around you. And I know a couple friends that live in the area and they said that they obviously are okay, but still not something that you really want to ever hear about a plane crashing into a neighborhood. So apologies and well wishes to everyone out there who went through that. But with that said, we are going to hear from Gavin Sheets. And when we talk to Gavin Sheets, I mean, we're talking to a guy who came off of a game where he had 2 home runs, 5 RBIs. He's the one who put him on the board first and early in the game, second inning, I believe. He's the one who tied up the game with a 2-run home run in the top of the 9th. And this is where I got into it with someone on social media. I wasn't having it yesterday, and I'm not having it anymore. Because I'm trying not to let people bring me down. But I got a DM basically just saying how bad the team is and how they need to trade everyone and how they've given up and how they're just accepting their paychecks and that's all they're really doing out there. If that's what you think, if you think that that's what the Padres players are doing is just accepting paychecks and just counting their money, you can go ahead and think that. But I'm going to tell you right now, that's a dumb that's dumb. It's dumb. These guys are not there just to make money. Yes, it's part of playing professional baseball. But I can tell you that these guys are not done with this season. I can tell you that these guys are feeling the heat of a 6-game losing streak right now. And I can also tell you from talking to Gavin Sheets, these guys still believe in themselves. So when you DM me and you think I'm going to be on your side and all this stuff, if you say stuff like this team doesn't care anymore, I may not even respond anymore and block you because that is the furthest thing from the truth. And I got to start taking control of my DMs. I try to answer everyone. I try to give everyone the benefit of the doubt, but some people just don't want to listen, number one. And number two, I think people just want the Padres to be bad. It's crazy to hear. It's crazy to say. But there are certain people out there that no matter how well this team does, they're going to find a way to criticize it. And I am taking a stand against doomers. Someone in the chat earlier was saying, this is just a 500 team. Wouldn't be surprised if they're under 500. If you think they're really going to be a 500 team, I would go make a bet on it because you're going to lose your money. And if they are a 500 team, and we're talking barring injury, if the team that the Padres have right now is the team that finishes the year, they will be over 500. That is a fact in my mind if there's no major injuries. But if you think that the team that they have right now is going to be an under 500 team, I have no idea what you're looking at here. And yesterday, I got a little too into the weeds with people. And so that's why I'm saying now, I'm not taking it anymore. If the team is playing bad, we're going to talk about it. If the team is playing good, we're going to talk about it. But we're not going to empathize with doomers who think that the season is already over. So now that I've said that, let's get to Gavin Sheets. Let's hear what happened on the team bus. And let's hear from the guy who hit 2 home runs and drove in 5 yesterday.
Friar Friday means we get a Padre guest. Joining us here today is Gavin Sheets, Padre DH, first baseman, occasional outfielder. Gavin, how's your day today, my man?
It's been good. How about you guys?
It's going well. I got to start with this because, this is kind of an insider story here. I mean, yesterday on the way from the stadium, on our way to the airport, the team tire blows. And you guys have to get off of your bus and then come onto what we call the media bus. Have you ever been a part of a situation where the tire just blows like that?
No. I'm hoping that's the final thing for us right there. That's just kind of the way things have gone the last 6 games. So I'm hoping that's it for us. And now we go.
No kidding. I mean, it was kind of funny. We are on our way to the airport. The tire blows, and I think none of us had ever really been in a situation like that. So we all the folks in the media went to gathered at the back of the bus to make room for the entire team to get on. We get to the airport, no big deal. Prior to that, though, Gavin, you had a pretty big day, and obviously it didn't come on the back of a win, but swinging the bat well this season. I mean, how have you felt at the plate? What's been going well for you?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for me is having confidence in what we're doing in my swing. I'm not tinkering on a day-to-day basis, which I think is huge at the big league level. It's hard enough to compete and battle against these pitchers every single day, but when you're fighting against yourself and you're swinging, it makes it even harder. So I think that's been the biggest difference for me this year is just going and being confident. And, obviously you're going to hit your skids where you go offers and, it's just baseball. Slumps are slumps. But to be confident in your swing and not have to change anything or feel like you need to change anything, I feel like is the biggest difference for me this year.
I thought you had two really impressive swings yesterday on 2 pitches that were down. And for a guy who stands as tall as you, is that something in particular on that pitch in particular? Is that something that you've worked on, being able to drive down to that and hit that ball the way you have?
Absolutely. And it's funny because it's kind of the opposite. I've stood up taller so that I can get to that pitch better, so that I can get my legs more and be athletic and kind of make that forward move. Because before when, I thought that I had to crouch down more, bend down on my legs more, where actually it was kind of the opposite. I had to get there easier. So by standing up, it's helped me get to that lower pitch, which, from early in spring training was one of the biggest focuses for us. I'd always handled the pitch up well, but how can I get to that pitch down, the off speed down? And that was the move we made.
Talking to Gavin Sheets here on 97.3 The Fan, Friar Friday, Gwynn and Chris. And I have one fun question, and then I got another question. But did you help change the tire on the bus? Was that like something that you tried to do?
No, actually, I will say the transition between buses was a lot quicker than I expected it to be. So for never going through that, but that was pretty impressive how we just kind of hopped on the next one and we were out of there. So credit to everybody involved because that was a smooth transition.
All right, I may be a little obsessed with this, and then I promise you I'll get to a real question. But do you know how to change a tire? If you were driving home and you got a flat, would you be able to do it?
Oh yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
good.
Fortunately, my dad taught me how to, so I would be okay with that one.
Okay, perfect.
Gavin, you've been kind of bouncing around a little bit in terms of the DH, first base, occasional left field. I would assume first base is probably your most comfortable spot, but how have you been able to kind of maintain rhythm while DHing and trying to go back and forth at first base?
Yeah, I mean, just trying to get as many practice reps as possible. Obviously, it can be tough no matter what spot it is, just because you're not at the the game speed per se at each of those spots, but just trying to stay as sharp as possible throughout the practice. Obviously, I think DH is my main spot on an everyday basis, but you got to be able to give guys blows. Like, you got to get Manny off his feet. You got to get Louis off his feet every once in a while. So being able to go out to left field and first base whenever they need me, I feel like is big. But yeah, for me, it's just getting as many reps in BP and early ground balls as possible. Obviously, you're never going to replicate a game speed, but you always try to with the practice as much as you can.
You got another one. I want to move to the more team element. You guys have struggled a little bit offensively. Yesterday showed some life again and really got back to seeing some of those ABs we saw earlier in the season. I mean, how have you guys been able to kind of to keep your head despite kind of all of a sudden hitting a little bit of a rough patch offensively?
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing is, you just trust the talent in the room. We got way too much talent to panic, especially this early. Obviously, the season's a long season, and we've had skits where we rattle off 8 in a row wins, and obviously we're going through a skid right now. But throughout a long season, you're gonna go through these, and the biggest thing is just try to minimize it and get back to playing baseball that we know we can play. I thought yesterday was a great start. Obviously, runners in score position, we wanted to get that off our back, and we had some good at bats yesterday with that. But I just feel like the more you think about it and reflect on it, the harder it is. But too much talent here to worry about that.
Talking to Gavin Sheets here on 97.3 The Fan for Friar Friday. And Gavin, we talked to you in spring training when you were fighting to make the team. You were doing some great things, and now we know you did make the team. But I have to ask what it's like going from a really tough situation like the White Sox last year, and then to a situation where you have 40,000 plus people on a Tuesday night chanting "Holy Sheets." Like, what is that like for you?
It's incredible. Obviously, change of scenery was huge for me, but to get here and be in front of these fans and just experience that's been it's been incredible, rejuvenating to say the least. But this fan base is incredible, and I always, as an away player, you play at Petco, and you're like, man, this place is incredible to play at, and to be on the home side of it, and obviously have those chants and everything has been a lot of fun to say the least.
Gavin, you guys going into this matchup against an Atlanta Braves team that you guys played very early in the season. I don't know that they were playing as well as they are playing right now, and I don't know if you guys were playing as well as you were at that point. In this matchup in particular, what are you looking forward to?
It's going to be a bunch of great baseball. Obviously, they're going to have a lot of energy tonight with Acuna coming back, and we understand that. But at the same time, we got 3 really good pitchers going for us this weekend, and they do as well. So. These are playoff-like atmospheres, and these are the teams you got to beat down the stretch. And it's gonna be an exciting series, I think, for both sides. 2 good baseball teams in a great place to play, and I'm looking forward to it.
When does for you personally you get to the yard? At what point does your prep start in terms of the starting pitcher that you're facing, and maybe the guys out of the bullpen that you'll see?
For me, it's the night before. I love to just sit in bed and watch video. I watch video of, what they have with their, runners in scoring position. And then I like to watch guys that have done damage off them. I like to see them giving up homers. I like seeing them giving up doubles. And I like to just visualize that, being like, all right, these guys can do it. I can do it too. So it's nice to see that stuff. But yeah, I think, the night before you watch, you kind of go through all the checklists and get some good visuals. And then once you get here, it's just about prepping to execute on that day.
I was about to say this, so that frees you up on the actual game day to kind of do really whatever it is you feel like you need to do from that point on, huh?
Yeah, once I get to the ballpark, I like to just stick to my routine. Go through my hitting stuff, go through my drills, and then, just go through the day, just preparing to execute what you saw the night before. Whatever your game plan is for that day, and so that's what I like to do. That way, when I show up to the ballpark, I know exactly what I want to get done and get it ready for 7:15 tonight.
Gavin, we certainly appreciate your time, man. Good luck in this 3-game set. Keep swinging the bat, man.
Appreciate it, guys.
Gavin Sheets. They're on our Friar Friday guests.
Thank you to Gavin Sheets one more time. And isn't that crazy about the bus? I didn't even know, like, obviously things happen with players on the buses, but that's kind of crazy that their tire popped. I don't even know how you change a bus tire, but Gavin Sheets knows how to change his own car's tire, which how many people out there know how to do that? I think that it would surprise you at how many people are not able to change a tire. or how many people are not able to drive stick, like a 5-speed manual transmission. I know how to do that. I actually, at one point, my dad was teaching me how to drive stick when I was 16 or 17. And I panicked in the middle of an intersection because I kept stalling the car. And sorry, Dad, but he was yelling at me because we were in the middle of a big intersection. And he was like, you got to get going. And I was like, I'm trying. And then I just got out of the car and made him get into the driver's seat and drive us away. But yeah, it would surprise you how many people are not able to change a tire on a car, which is something that everybody needs to know how to do. Everybody. And McKee says, taught myself how to drive stick. That's pretty good. I don't know that I'd be able to teach myself, but once I got it, once you get it, you get it. It's all good. You're fine. You can figure it out. All right. That was Gavin Sheets. We have about a half hour before Sammy Lev takes over for the pregame show between the Braves and the Padres. It's Nick Pivetta. It's Chris Sale. It's going to be a fun one tonight. And Ronald Acuna Jr. is back for the Braves. There's also one other game that's happening in the National League West, and there's something that's happening for the first time. So I'm going to tell you about that. We're also going to hear from AJ Preller. He was on with the morning show. He has some interesting they asked some interesting questions, and I think everybody wants to hear the answers to those. And then if we have time, I went back in history and I looked at teams that have lost a bunch of games in a row and if they were able to make the playoffs in the World Series. So if we have time, we could do that. But when we get back, AJ Preller was on with Ben and Woods, 97.3 The Fan. I actually got in trouble once when I worked at the bank for looking up a celebrity, and it was totally wrong on my part. Totally wrong.
Looking up their account number?
Just I searched their name in the account system, and
Skraby, what is wrong with you?
I was like 19.
You'd be better off.
You would
be better. You'd be better off admitting that you wore your underwear inside out. Frankly,
This guy is just searching up people's accounts.
It only happened that one time because I got caught.
oh,
How did you get caught?
The account was flagged, and anybody taking a look at it gets logged. And so I got called into the boss's office like 3 days later.
What did that come? I'm sorry, I gotta ask, but no, we're supposed to be doing this preview. What did that conversation? How did it go?
Well,
like, why were you looking up Paris Hilton? Is that who it was?
I can neither confirm nor deny.
Oh my god!
I can neither confirm. That's really funny, Chris, that you just yelled out that name out of all names.
No.
But I walked in. I got called into the office, and I sat down.
gosh.
And all my boss. I loved her. She was great. Her name was Sharon. Amazing boss. She just slid the piece of paper in front of me.
You knew.
Said, "Did you visit this account?" And I looked. Yeah. She was like, "We're gonna have to write you up for this, and if you do it again, we're gonna have to fire you." And I said, "I'll never do it again." And I got out of there as soon as possible.
Damn.
I took everything, but it was not good. Not good.
Just curiosity, huh? He's like, I wonder how much they have in their account.
Yeah. I mean, before I got caught, I did look up athletes. And,
oh my god! I'm so glad you're sitting in this seat now.
Yes, I'm so happy you're not doing any job that can be dangerous to people's futures.
This was in the first year that I was there. I learned my lesson thoroughly.
Chris, as I said, as soon as they walked in, they was like,
yeah,
that's our guy right there.
That's our window.
We're gonna take him down.
Yep.
Just lucky I didn't get caught for like. I can't even say. I'll tell you guys off break whose account I saw and how much money they had sitting in their checking account.
And this was how long ago, too, by the way?
2009, 10. Way before I became a good person.
Didn't Bank America end up getting in trouble? Or was that it was one of those banks got in trouble?
All of them get in trouble for selling information. But
I heard folks like you.
I wasn't selling any information. I was just wanting to see what was going on.
Curious.
I didn't check their account activity, which I could have. Been like, oh, they bought this here. I'm going to go up there. You know, I'm not that creepy.
Well, that's stock.
Oh, yeah, you're not that bad.
I'm not that creepy.
This is amazing, by the way. We're supposed to be doing.
How are we supposed to do baseball picks under
I
these
don't think we can
circumstances?
anymore. I think we gotta push it. You guys never did it? Well, I mean,
No, Skraby, we didn't.
Really? Like you work at a bank, you're looking at people's account information. That's unbelievable.
It only happened for a little bit, and then I got in trouble.
for a little bit.
I can't stop laughing at this because it is quite hilarious. Greg.
But you were saying that I may have gotten robbed or whatever. I actually did get robbed when I worked in San Francisco, and they're called quick change artists.
How long did you work in the banking industry?
8 years. I was a teller supervisor when I finished. I was also the merchant teller, which took in around $150,000 in cash a day. Guess what? Always balanced at the end of the day.
Yeah, I bet.
But there was a guy who walked in. He had about $5,000 in hundreds, and he handed it to me. He said, "Can I get 50s for these?" And I said, it's pretty annoying that he wants
$5,000 in hundreds.
In hundreds, and he wanted $5,000 in 50s. He just wanted 50s instead of hundreds. So I had to go get it from the vault. I come back. I'm starting to count it out, and then he's like starting to ask me questions as I'm counting it out.
He's trying to
what
did I tell you, Chris? This is what I'm talking about.
That window right there.
Hey, this guy was so good that no one saw it coming. But so when I started getting mad at him because I counted out the 50s, he goes, "What are you doing? I asked for 20s." And I'm like, "What? You did not ask for 20s. You asked for 50s, bro." Yeah. I had to go to the vault to get those 50s. And as I was getting all mad and talking to my boss, he took the cash off the counter and put it into this folder that he had on the thing that
the original 5,000 in hundreds.
Yeah, well, he kept going like that, and then I was so mad, I just grabbed it and I threw it in my drawer. And then he was like, "You know what? I'm out of here." And he walked out. And then at the end of the day, $3,000.
He got an extra 3 on you.
$3,000. Yeah, he got $3,000.
The thing about criminals like that, they can sniff out a mark really easy.
I'm not a mark.
You are 1,000%.
I was actually the bank's
dog. They got you for 3 extra.
And that's the only time in my 8 years that I ever had anything happen like that.
I'm sure there are people who've been there 8 years that never had 0 taken.
Scrape, I got a 20 here. Can I get 5 5s, please?
I hate you guys.
Let's get to
that was one of the worst moments of my life, but you know what? It taught me a lot. Never trust anyone ever again.
You know what? You definitely have learned because you don't trust very many people.
I don't trust anyone anymore.
I
I actually got in trouble once when I worked at the bank for looking up a celebrity, and it was totally wrong on my part. Totally wrong.
Looking up their account number?
Just I searched her name in the account system, and
Skraby, what is wrong with you?
I was like 19.
You'd be better off.
You would
be better. You'd be better off admitting that you wore your underwear inside out. Frankly,
This guy is just searching up people's accounts.
It only happened that one time because I got caught.
Oh,
how did you get caught?
The account was flagged, and anybody taking a look at it gets logged, and so I got called into the boss's office like 3 days
what
later.
did that come? I'm sorry, I gotta ask, but nobody's supposed to be doing this preview. What did that conversation? How did it go?
Well, why were you looking up Paris Hilton? Is that who it was?
Final segment for me today. 97.3 The Fan, Gwynn and Chris. We have a 3-day weekend, actually. You know, everybody does with Memorial Day, and we all know what Memorial Day is all about. So it's not like I'm celebrating Memorial Day, but it is a 3-day weekend. So thank you to everybody out there who has served. And I know that I'm going to get some DMs about that's not what Memorial Day is about. I'm just saying thank you to everyone. That's what I'm doing here. As you could tell, I'm kind of in not a bad mood, but I'm in an edgy mood because everybody, it seems like in the world, not in the world, but there's a lot of listeners out there that are like trying to make me seem like I'm some idiot who doesn't see what's right in front of me. And I see what's right in front of me. I see a team that has a winning record that is in the midst of a 6-game losing streak, but also has a ton of games to go. A ton of games to go. There's over 100 games. Again, if you think this team is going to be under 500, go ahead and think this team's going to be under 500. But when you're wrong at the end of the year, I don't want to see you celebrating like you thought they were going to be this great all the time. That's what kind of bothers me. Going into the weekend bothered, which I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, but it is what it is, and that's what's happening right now with me. I do, yes, everybody. I do go through ups and downs just like everybody else. Fernando Tatis Jr. is sad. I want to talk about that for a second, because he has said that he has not been feeling his best lately. And I think that is a good thing for Fernando to actually admit, because people don't admit that stuff often, and it festers and it gets worse and worse and worse. So if Fernando's admitting that he's not feeling 100%, I say that's a good thing, that he's at least speaking out about it and he's at least trying to do something about it. Everything's going to be fine. I don't know why it seems like every single year I do this job, more and more people get more and more doomish. It's very strange to me. It's very strange to me. So the first, before break, I told you there was going to be a first at Coors Field, and I can't even imagine how excited Dick Monfort is for this game tonight, because Aaron Judge is making his first appearance at Coors Field. And I believe if he hits a home run, he's going to hit a home run out of the stadium. That's insane. Can you imagine Aaron Judge being a Rocky for his career, and how many home runs that Aaron Judge would have each year? It would be like 70. It would be incredible. So I'm going to be paying attention a little bit more to Aaron Judge playing the Rockies, or the Yankees playing the Rockies, and Aaron Judge when he's up at bat. But it'll be fun. And for the Rockies fans, they don't have much to look forward to this year. So why not give them something like Aaron Judge coming to town to celebrate? I don't mind them buying a ticket in this case. I don't mind fans packing the park to see Aaron Judge, because that's really the only reason you're going to games anymore for Rockies, is going to see who's on the other team. But Aaron Judge, first time ever at Coors Field. This morning on Ben and Woods, by the way, I'm Matt Skraby, filling in for Gwynn and Chris. Chris is on vacation. He'll be back next week. Tony Gwynn Jr. is in Atlanta listening to Mike Schilt right now, I believe. But the morning show, Ben and Woods, they had AJ Preller on for Friar Friday, and they asked him a lot of interesting questions. And one of those questions was about Fernando Tatis Jr.'s body language. And so the reason I came in with Fernando, I guess because I knew AJ Preller was asked about it this morning. And here is what he told the guys this morning about Fernando Tatis's body language.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's always the difficult part, especially with baseball. It's kind of get into the year and the roller coaster and just such a long season. And there's a lot of failure in the game of baseball. So I think to me, obviously, when you see somebody have a series or a game or an at bat, where you're used to them playing at a super high level and expect them to play and perform all the time, you're always your mind goes to all kinds of different things,
Sure.
et cetera. But I think I think that's all part of it. I think with Schilt and the staff, they've done a great job of just kind of being even keeled and understanding, like, hey, when's the time to really push and when's the time to to kind of, hey, let these guys and their talent and ability in the process kind of let it play out. And again, I think for most of the year, Merrill and Toddy and Manny, the three just mentioned, they've been outstanding. So, I think from our standpoint, I think the probably the positive of the last, few weeks or so is, those guys aren't going to be like that all year, in terms of, that means usually some good things are about ready to happen. So, and I think it's constantly conversation with the staff and the players. These guys care a ton about how do we get that and how do we kind of get back to that level quickly. But those guys are, I think they're overall, I think, throughout the year, they're in a good place. And, we're in the, to me, like, I think that's where our team is built, with those guys and that crew. And, I think they're going to come back here and start playing some really good ball. And then in terms of Darvish, yeah, he basically got to the point, made the rehab starts, one down in Arizona and one in AAA. Stuff was really good. I mean, he's throwing the ball 94, 98, I think so. And talking about this, about as good as he's felt from a, sharpness of his pitches. Secondary stuff was good. But then the ability to kind of bounce back, he's still kind of describing this feeling of some tightness, in the forearm, and then, just kind of coming back where he's able to still play catch, and he's like, yeah, he's still, throwing and playing catch and progressing there, but
Good.
just getting to the point where he's like, hey, I'm ready to go pitch in a big league game, make 80 pitches, and 5 days later, not put the team at a disadvantage, from a bullpen standpoint or from a pitching rotation standpoint. He hasn't.
That goes on for a little bit longer. If you want to hear the full interview, you can go to 973thefansd.com and you will be able to see it up there. But not my favorite update on you, Darvish, right there. I was even under the impression he may even start in Toronto, but I guess that's been pushed back. Hoping for you, Darvish, to come back at some point soon, because he's been largely missing from this team for the last 2 years. And I know last year he had some personal stuff. And again, I believe that everybody's allowed to handle their personal stuff the way that they want to handle it. But it's the team needs him. They are paying him to pitch. And if he can't pitch because he physically is unable to pitch, that's one thing. But it's not a good thing to have you, Darvish, updates continually kind of kicking the can down the road on when he's going to come back. And I'm not saying AJ Preller's kicking the can. It's up to you, Darvish, and how his arm responds. But that's not my favorite update for you, Darvish. Now, as a part of the Fernando Tatis body language question, I think about it like this, because as you know, I'm a very emotional person, and I am not afraid to wear my emotions on my sleeve. And sometimes when I think, okay, people, even professional athletes, have stuff happen in their lives that may preoccupy their mind for a little bit, but not all of us have to go out there and do it on a field when everyone's watching. So to constantly look at his body like, oh, he's so angry right now, his body language is bad, he just doesn't want to be there. I think we need to be a little bit nicer about that, because everybody handles things in different ways. But he's out there playing. Yes, he's slumping right now. He's not the guy he was in the beginning of the year. I believe he's going to figure that out, and he will be that guy again. But who likes to lose? No one likes to lose. So when you see a bad body language Fernando Tatis Jr., maybe it's because they've lost 6 in a row. Maybe because he hasn't really hit lately. Those are all things that go through my mind when I see someone who has bad body language on the field. I mean, on the YouTube, I have bad body language sometimes, but it's mostly when I'm like getting at Chris or something in a break. But I think that we're looking for every single reason to put this team down right now. And I don't get it. I don't get it. Now, I was asked a question, or maybe not me, but in the chat the other day, I can't remember who brought it up. There's lots of names in the chat, but I can't remember who brought it up. We're talking about left field. We're talking about who could play left field. And someone asked, can Jake Cronenworth play left field? And I dismissed it. And I said, no, he's never going to play left field. Well, the guys in the morning, Bennett Woods, asked AJ Preller if they have ever thought about putting Jake Cronenworth in left field.
Not really with Crony. I mean, I think with Tatis and, obviously we've done with Toddy and Jackson and, and others. But I think with Crony, again, like for us, the ability to play second base and first base from a defensive standpoint, to see that as a huge positive and big time value for our group and our team. And, having somebody that thinks the game in the middle of the diamond like that, leads to winning. So I think with Crony, again, we've seen some of these infielders have gone to the outfield and played very well. I'm not saying that Crony couldn't do it or anything like that, but I think the value that he brings, in the dirt, just from a defensive standpoint, I think we just, we just feel like that's been something that over the years has never really been, hey, let's run this out to the outfield right now at that. It's like, like having a real, plus infielder at second base or at first base. I think it's kind of where our mind's gone. And, I think, again, for Schulte and the staff, I think having some consistency in the infield with Crony and Xander up the middle, I think that's where their mind goes in terms of this current roster.
Yeah, I never really thought, and I guess I shouldn't have dismissed it so much because it was something that maybe they thought about, but I've never really thought that putting Jake Cronenworth in the outfield is the best idea. Yeah, they got some infielders that could play for him, but they're not everyday guys. They're like, he's best where he is. And I know that they moved Fernando from shortstop to right field, but that was a great move. They put him in right field. He wins a platinum glove. So it's a good move. I don't know that Jake Cronenworth goes to left field and wins a platinum glove. Why not just let him stay where he is? Why not just let him play the position that he's supposed to be playing, which is either second base or first base, and not worry about what's going on in the outfield, and actually worry about it, but figure out a different solution for it. And as I said to Braden yesterday, the days of Jason Hayward are most likely numbered. He's not contributing to the team to a level where they can continue to hold a roster spot for him. And I wouldn't be surprised if we got news here in the next week or so, maybe 2 weeks, about Jason Hayward being let go, because obviously they're not going to send him down. But here was another thought that I had about Jason Hayward, and it's a total Matt Skraby thought, but Jason Hayward is at the end of his career. And the Padres gave him a chance to come in and see if he could resurrect it a little bit and be someone who can contribute on a daily basis, or at least on a platoon basis. But this might be Jason Hayward's last stop in Major League Baseball. And everybody has their career come to an end. I completely understand that. And it happens, again, to everyone. But what I think is kind of strange about it is how many people just don't think about those things. Like, Jason Hayward is probably looking at the end of his career. So if he can't pick it up soon, he knows the business. He knows that it's about to be time for him if he can't completely turn it around. But I have given Jason Hayward some time in my mind, but at this point, I really do think we're at a point where Jason Hayward either needs to turn it on now, or he needs to, or they're going to have to let him go. That's what I think is going to happen with him. And they're not going to put Jake Cronenworth in left field, just as AJ Preller said. All right, AJ Preller, Benowitz asked him for his initial thoughts on this current losing streak.
Obviously, Braves this weekend, and I think it's ultimately, what we've done over the last few years. It creates expectations, which is a good thing. You want that. You want people to expect the team to play well and do it consistently. And I think our fan base has gotten used to a team that especially in the first month of the season, played really, really good baseball. It was fun to watch, and obviously over the last week we haven't played up to that level. And it's a long year, and ultimately now it's about now making some adjustments and getting back to playing the kind of baseball that everybody expects us to play.
It's May 23rd, everyone. It's May 23rd. I'm gonna pull what Chris and Tony pull on me all the time. It's May 23rd. Still have some time. All right, Sam Levitt's coming up in a little bit, but I got one more small segment, so you'll hear some more of me screaming about the world on 97.3 The Fan.
It has to do with average temperatures in the year 2024, and this is the average temperature, high, maximum per day, minimum per day. It is going to be your job today to find the 25 states whose average temperature is under 55 degrees. California's at 60. You're looking for anything under 55. I'm not going to let you go first. I'm going to give Tony first.
Let's start with Montana.
That is correct.
Montana.
Montana's the fourth coldest state in the U.S., 44.5 degrees average temperature. All right, Skraby, that leaves a really obvious one for you. I gave Tony first. He didn't take it, so you can.
I don't know that these are that obvious to any of us.
All right,
Chris.
Well, I think one is obvious.
Alaska,
I think. Thought Alaska was pretty obvious. 27.8 degrees average temperature in Alaska. 16 degrees colder than any other state. Tony's up.
Washington, the state.
State of Washington is on the list at 48.4. So Tony takes a 2-1 lead. Skraby, give me a cold state.
Maine.
Tony, you're up 2-2.
How about Idaho?
Idaho's pretty cold. Cold enough at 45.5, seventh coldest in the U.S.
Well, it's That's my favorite state to say. Minnesota.
Minnesota.
Yeah, that was kind of obvious. Same as Idaho. Minnesota, 45.5, Tony.
How about North Dakota?
North Dakota, there
North
you
Dakota.
go. You found it, number 2, 43.7 there.
I'll take the lesser known Dakota. The
South Dakota.
I think it's the more known Dakota.
Yeah, I would think it's more. Tony, you are up in a 4-4 tie with no strikes yet.
How about Oregon?
Oregon, believe it or not, Oregon's cold enough to make the list. Tony's 5, Skraby's 4.
Never been here, but I knew someone from here and said it's very cold. New Hampshire.
New Hampshire's cold. Tony.
How about Vermont?
Vermont's cold, and it's right next to New Hampshire, so that was good. 46.3. Tony goes up 6-5.
How about Wisconsin?
Wisconsin. I'm pretty sure that's going to be in there. Just below, Tony, you're up.
We're going to move to Wisconsin's neighbor. How about little Illinois?
Oh.
How about a little Illinois? Little Illinois didn't make it. You can get your first lead of the day here.
A state that I've been to, a state that has beautiful scenery, Wyoming.
That's number 3, Wyoming, 44.3. I can definitely second that.
Laramie is like the
notion, having been there every year to Laramie. It's cold.
Now,
Tony.
Iowa.
That's
Iowa.
a great one.
Is it?
Has to be on there.
51.5. Iowa just snuck in there.
I'm going to bank on the part of the state that's not attached to the paw is cold. Michigan.
Michigan is a winner. Very good. The Upper Peninsula you're referring to.
The paw.
How about Utah?
Utah, Salt Lake City and company. Yep,
Park
it's
City.
cold there.
Yeah.
51.2. That is correct. Tony hits it. 8-8. The only difference is Tony's got a strike.
Nueva York.
Nueva York.
New York for Chris.
It does get cold there in New York. 49 degrees average temperature in New York is Tony.
Connecticut.
Connecticut.
What about Ohio?
You ready to come up with an answer, Skraby?
Ohio.
Too hot.
I
Too
know.
hot.
I was thinking that because it's next to Illinois, but I live
Too
there
hot.
and it snowed.
Is that what you want, Ohio?
Yeah.
54.9. It's the last one on there. Skraby goes up 10-9.
How about a little Pennsylvania?
Pennsylvania,
Yeah.
frigid old Pennsylvania.
Frigid old Pennsylvania.
Home of Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, Harrisburg. And cold enough at 52.1 to make the list.
Pennsylvania, baby.
10-10.
Massachusetts.
It has not been said. Doesn't mean it's correct, but it is. 51.2. Skraby hits a bell.
Massachusetts.
11-10. Tony, you're up.
Oh, man, this is hard.
There are 4 left.
Cold. How about Indiana?
Oh.
Indiana. No, Tony. It's a strike. 55.2. Indiana just over by 0.2.
Some of the coldest spots in the country are in the plains. Nebraska. Yeah. Lincoln. That's all I got on Nebraska.
Skraby's doing okay. That's correct.
Wow!
52 degrees.
Colorado.
Colorado. Skraby for the win
One of the most forgotten places in the United States
is
Rhode Island.
Rhode Island. And it is correct.
Yes! Sorry, that was a lot. Does that mean I win?
Game is over. Yes,
Game
you've
is
won.
over!
That was a stupid game.
I didn't think you'd like it since it didn't win it.
All right, I lied. It was the final segment, but now it's really the final segment of Gwynn and Chris. Matt Skraby filling in. You hear the clapping of Mr. Sam Levitt. He is getting ready. He has to make sure all of his lights are perfectly on his face. I'm going to turn this camera around for a second. If you're a YouTuber, you see all the lights. You see Sam. He's ready to go. So just know he's ready for you. And he's probably going to be nicer to you than I've been this entire hour because it's been rough. It's been rough, Sam.
Why has it been rough?
The Doomers, man.
Well,
I'm letting the
6
Doomers
losses in a
get
row
to me.
will do that
6 losses in a row will do that.
in games that were not particularly aesthetically pleasing for the most part.
No, do you think that I like to watch the Padres lose 14-0? No, I don't like to watch the Padres lose 14-0. Does it mean that the season's over? No, it doesn't mean that the
Mm-mm.
season is over.
It's a lot of twists and turns to a 162 game season, as we've learned
Yes,
many times
many a times
here in San Diego. You mentioned my lights.
Yeah,
Just to take
yeah.
people a little behind the curtain here. You're right. I do have a very specific lighting setup for our pre and post game YouTube stream. I actually use multiple lights here in the studio because I got to look good.
Yeah,
I got to show people this moisturized face of mine.
Yes, Sam, recently I have been not using moisturizer on my face, but I've been putting sunscreen that's like made for the face
That's
because
good.
I'm almost 40, as I've said like 100 times on this show, and I cannot be aging any faster. I gotta stay youthful. Anyway, Sam's coming up soon.
Had you do a legal ID?
Yes, I just did.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, thanks for checking and thanks for listening, Sam. Thanks for listening. Here's what I'm going to do to end the show. Here's what I'm going to do. I went through the Padres are 2-8 in their last 10 games. And I went through some of the teams that made the playoffs, even though they went 2-8 at some point during the season. In 2024, these teams made the playoffs, even though they lost 8 of 10 at some point in the year. The Royals lost 8 of 10 twice, still made the playoffs in 2024. The Orioles, most overrated team in the history of man, but they still did make the playoffs. The Tigers, Mets, Phillies, and Yankees all lost 8 games out of 10 at some point in the year. In 2023, the Rangers lost 9 straight and won the World Series. The Diamondbacks lost 9 in a row starting August 1st and still went to the World Series. And I forgot that the Marlins were even a wild card team back in 2023, but the Marlins also lost 9 in a row and they were able to capture a wild card berth. And in 2017, the Dodgers won 104 games. But during that, they had a 10-game losing streak at some point during the year, and they went to the World Series. So what I'm trying to say is that just because there's a losing streak happening right now doesn't mean that the season is over. I was trying to find some numbers to prove that too. The season is not over. And I hope the Padres go in. Well, they're already at Atlanta. I hope they win the next 3 games. They come home, they fill Petco Park on Memorial Day, and they just continue to win like they have been, or like they were, I guess, because they haven't. They've lost 6 in a row. I feel like it's going to turn around. Ronald Acuna Jr., scary, but I also think that he needs some time to get it back together at the major league level. He's been out for 362 days, I believe, which is kind of crazy that he tore his ACL last year and he's already back and ready to play. The Braves sent out this. He tore his ACL on May 26, 2024, and he's already back here at the major league level within a year. So it's going to take a little bit of time for him to get back into things. And I think the Padres are facing the Braves at the right time because you don't want to see a hot Ronald Acuna. Also, Padres swept the Braves to start the year. But it's going to be, I think, one of those games where we are looking at 1-1 in the 7th inning. You got Chris Sale, you got Nick Pivetta, and I just got to think that Nick Pivetta knows that this is a very, very important start for him. Every start is important, but this has to turn around. You can't go losing 9 in a row. Now, 9 in a row is a bad thing, but you can survive 6 in a row. It's going to be hard, though, against Chris Sale. That's what I'm saying to everybody out there. All right. Oh, I mistimed things. This is slightly embarrassing, Sam. I mistimed things. I thought my thing was going to start. I thought I was going to hit the post. By the way, I had been calling for the Padres to trade if we were going to trade for a left fielder. I've been calling for the Padres to trade for Toronto left fielder Nathan Lucas, but I think his price went up in the last couple days. And the only reason I'm bringing it up is because I don't usually name names that are kind of off the beaten path that have some sort of possibility to be traded. But after this weekend, I don't know if the Blue Jays are going to do it. I don't know that they're gonna pull the trigger. I don't know if the Padres have enough of the prospect capital. Major league, I don't think they have any major league players that they want to send back over. So left field is going to be left field, and we're gonna all have to deal with it. Right now, during the West Coast Conference baseball tournament, it's the bottom of the 8th. The USD Toreros are just crushing Gonzaga right now, 16-4 in the bottom of the 8th. So pay attention to that West Coast Conference baseball tournament, because I don't know, Sam, you can just shake your head yes or no. They don't have like a 15-run rule or anything, do they? You called college baseball.
In college?
There's no run rule.
I don't think so.
Okay, because they're up 16-4. So why are you looking
I
at
think
me?
they might actually.
Oh, well, it's going to happen soon. If it doesn't, I mean, they're up by 12 runs. I'm surprised
maybe
Braden's
not.
not there, actually.
Is it possible they don't have that in the tournament?
Probably.
I don't know. I don't know if they do or not. I haven't done college baseball in a few years.
Isn't Alec Jacob a Gonzaga guy?
He is.
I know a couple people from that area, and you can't talk bad about Gonzaga. If you're a Gonzagan, you can't talk bad about Gonzaga because people will get very, very angry. Last question for me, Sam, before Chet Holmgren is from Gonzaga. Mm-hmm. So was Adam Morrison. And how did that work out for him? I don't know. Do you know how to change your own tire?
No.
So if you got a flat on the way in, you would not be able to
AAA.
change it. Okay, I mean, I get that, but you couldn't get out your stuff?
Absolutely not. I don't even have stuff.
I guess you did grow up in New York City, kind of, so you don't really need.
I have no idea.
Do you know how to drive a stick?
No.
Okay. All right, everybody. That's it for Matt Skraby this week. Sam Levitt coming up next. He's going to be previewing the Padres and Braves 3-day weekend. I will talk to you on Tuesday. Stay tuned for the Padres pregame show here on 97.3 The Fan.